Before we get into this, I want you to understand something. The cleaning methods I'm about to share with you were not just unpopular. They were actively suppressed, mocked by Western cleaning companies, and in some cases literally banned from being taught in certain institutions because they threatened a multi-billion-dollar industry that wanted you buying chemicals, sprays, and gadgets you absolutely do not need. These are 25 cleaning tricks that originated in 1960s China that scientists have now looked at and said, wait a minute, this actually works, and here is exactly why. Stay until the end because number one is the one that cleaning product corporations definitely do not want you to know about. Number 25. Fermented rice water for greasy stovetops. During the 1960s in mainland China, urban health committees actively discouraged households from keeping fermented liquids near food preparation areas, fearing contamination. But grandmothers across Sichuan and Hunan provinces kept doing it anyway. Here's how you do it. When you rinse uncooked rice, save that cloudy white water in a sealed jar. Let it sit at room temperature for 3 to 4 days until it develops a slightly sour smell. Then apply it directly to your greasy stovetop with a cloth. Let it sit for 5 minutes and wipe away. The lactic acid produced during fermentation cuts through cooking grease the same way commercial degreasers do because it breaks the chemical bonds holding oil to your surface. Modern American food scientists studying traditional fermentation have confirmed that the pH drop in fermented rice water creates a mildly acidic solution powerful enough to dissolve polymerized cooking oils. Number 24. Ash and lard paste for cast iron and carbon steel pans. This one was specifically flagged by communist health brigades in the 1960s as unsanitary, and households caught using it could face neighborhood criticism sessions. But metalworkers and cooks knew something the committees did not. Mix cooled wood ash from burned plant matter with a tiny amount of lard or cooking fat until you get a thick paste. Apply it to your carbon steel wok or cast iron pan with a cloth. Scrub in circular motions, then rinse clean. Wood ash is strongly alkaline because it contains potassium carbonate and potassium hydroxide. These compounds saponify the fats on your pan surface, which means they chemically convert old rancid oils into a form of crude soap that lifts right off the metal. Materials scientists now recognize this as one of the most effective ways to strip and re-season heavy cooking vessels. Number 23. Dried orange and tangerine peels for musty drawers and closets. In 1960s, China, synthetic mothballs containing naphthalene were being mass-promoted by state factories as the modern scientific solution to household pests. Using citrus peels instead was considered backward and ineffective. Chinese families who continued using dried tangerine and orange peels in their clothing drawers were told they were endangering their fabric. Here is exactly what to do. Peel your citrus fruits and spread the peels on a flat surface in a well-ventilated area for 5 to 7 days until completely dry and brittle. Place them unwrapped inside drawers, closets, or storage bins. The peels release limonene, a natural terpene compound that modern American entomologists have confirmed acts as a genuine insect repellent against clothes, moths, and silverfish. Unlike naphthalene, limonene is non-toxic to humans and actually leaves your clothing smelling fresh. Number 22. Raw potato slices for water stains on windows and mirrors. This technique was dismissed during the 1960s Cultural Revolution period as wasteful, since potatoes were a rationed food source and using them for cleaning was considered ideologically irresponsible. People who did it kept it very quiet. Cut a raw potato in half or slice it into rounds. Rub the cut surface directly on glass windows, mirrors, or any glass surface with water stains or calcium deposits. Let the residue sit for 2 minutes, then buff away with a dry cloth. Raw potato contains oxalic acid and saponins, which together form a mild chelating solution that binds to the calcium and magnesium ions in hard water deposits, lifting them from glass without scratching. Chemists studying natural cleaning agents have noted that the starch matrix in potato juice also acts as a gentle polish that improves glass clarity. Number 21. Salted turnip brine for bathroom tile mold and mildew. During the 1960s, the state promoted chlorine-based cleaning agents as the only scientifically valid way to deal with mold in bathrooms. Using food brines for this purpose was actively discouraged by neighborhood health organizations as unhygienic and embarrassing. But here's what families in humid Guangdong province were doing. Take the brine left over from fermenting salted turnips or any salted vegetable and apply it undiluted to moldy tile grout with an old toothbrush. Let it work for 10 minutes and then scrub and rinse. The combination of high salt concentration, lactic acid from fermentation, and naturally occurring antimicrobial compounds in the vegetables creates an environment that dehydrates and kills mold colonies. Microbiologists studying traditional fermentation byproducts have confirmed that fermented vegetable brine has measurable antifungal activity comparable to diluted commercial cleaning agents. Number 20. Burned eggshell powder for stubborn sink stains. Burning and grinding materials at home was considered primitive during 1960s China when the state was pushing industrial production as the answer to all household problems. But resourceful homemakers across rural and urban areas quietly kept doing this. Collect eggshells and dry them completely. Place them in a dry pan over heat until they turn slightly gray and chalky. Grind them into a fine powder using any hard surface. Apply the powder to stained porcelain sinks, tubs, or toilet bowls with a damp cloth and scrub gently. Burned eggshell becomes calcium oxide, which is mildly abrasive and strongly alkaline. It lifts iron and mineral stains from ceramic surfaces without damaging the glaze the way harsh synthetic abrasives can. Western materials engineers studying calcium compounds confirm this is essentially a refined version of what commercial porcelain cleaners try to replicate with synthetic calcite particles. Number 19. Black tea leaves for hardwood floor cleaning. During the collectivization era of 1960s China, using tea, a traded commodity for anything other than drinking, was frowned upon as wasteful and anti-collective. Workers who used spent tea leaves to clean floors did so discreetly. Brew a very strong pot of black tea using old or used tea leaves, twice as strong as you would drink it. Let it cool to room temperature. Dampen a mop or cloth with the tea solution and clean hardwood or bamboo floors. The tannic acid in black tea gently cleans the wood surface, enhances the natural color and grain, inhibits mildew growth in the wood grain, and leaves a very subtle protective residue. Wood conservators at restoration museums have noted that tannic acid forms a light chemical bond with wood lignin that actually improves the surface's resistance to water damage over time. Number 18. Soybean pulp for leather shoes and furniture. Making tofu or soy milk produces a leftover pulp called okara. In 1960s, China, using this pulp for anything other than animal feed or supplemental food, was officially considered wasteful during periods of food shortage, and households could be sanctioned for discarding usable food matter in non-food applications. But cobblers and furniture makers knew its value. Apply a small amount of fresh soybean pulp to leather shoes, bags, or furniture using a soft cloth in gentle circular motions. Let it sit for 3 minutes, then wipe away with a clean, dry cloth. Soybean pulp contains soy proteins and natural oils that condition and clean leather simultaneously. The proteins fill micro cracks in the leather surface, while the natural soy lecithin lubricates the fibers, preventing cracking and restoring flexibility. Leather chemists have confirmed that soy proteins are structurally compatible with animal leather collagen in a way that petroleum-based conditioners are not. Number 17. Ginger root scrub for cutting boards. During the 1960s sanitation campaigns in China, household inspectors specifically targeted non-standard cleaning methods for food preparation surfaces. Using raw ginger on cutting boards was labeled as scientifically unsound, and households were told only boiling water and approved disinfectants were acceptable. Slice a thick piece of fresh ginger root in half and rub the cut surface vigorously across your wooden or bamboo cutting board. Follow this with a sprinkle of coarse salt and continue rubbing. Let it sit for 5 minutes and rinse with hot water. Ginger contains gingerol and shigaol, compounds that have demonstrated antimicrobial activity against common foodborne pathogens including E. coli and salmonella in laboratory studies. The abrasive salt physically scrubs bacteria from the wood grain, while the ginger compounds chemically neutralize remaining microbes. Food safety researchers have published findings confirming ginger extracts have genuine antibacterial efficacy on porous surfaces. Number 16. Charcoal bricks for refrigerator and cabinet odor elimination. In 1960s China, charcoal was a strategic fuel resource, and using it for household odor control rather than cooking or heating was considered frivolous and was officially discouraged, especially during periods of resource rationing. However, families with access to kilns quietly kept chunks of cooled charcoal for this purpose. Take pieces of hardwood charcoal, not briquettes made with binders, but natural lump charcoal, and place them uncovered inside your refrigerator, pantry cabinets, or food storage areas. Replace them every 6 to 8 weeks or reactivate them by placing in sunlight for several hours. Activated carbon in natural charcoal absorbs odor molecules through a process where the porous surface of the charcoal physically traps gaseous compounds including ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and organic volatiles. This is the exact same principle used in modern American refrigerator deodorizer products that now sell for $12 each. Number 15. Turnip juice for rust removal on metal cookware and tools. The 1960s in China saw heavy promotion of machine tools and metal goods as symbols of modernization. Recommending traditional food-based rust treatments was met with ridicule by state technicians who insisted only industrial rust removers were appropriate. Here's the method. Grate a raw white radish or turnip and collect the juice by squeezing it through a cloth. Apply this juice generously to rusted metal surfaces such as wok edges, knife blades, or tool heads. Let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes, then scrub with a rough cloth or steel wool and rinse. Raw daikon radish and Chinese white turnip contain isothiocyanates and natural reducing compounds that chemically react with iron oxide, which is rust, and help dissolve it from the metal surface. Metallurgists testing plant-based rust treatments have found that the glucose-inolate compounds in these vegetables produce a measurable reduction in surface rust when applied in concentrated form. Number 14. Vinegar-soaked mulberry leaves for glass and chrome polish. During the 1960s, mulberry leaves were considered state agricultural property in many Chinese regions because of their importance to the silk industry. Using them for anything other than feeding silkworms was actually a punishable offense in some districts. Mix 1 part rice vinegar with 2 parts water and soak dried mulberry leaves in this solution overnight. Use the leaves themselves as a polishing cloth on glass surfaces, chrome fixtures, faucets, and mirrors. Wring the leaves slightly and buff in slow circular motions. The combination of acetic acid from the vinegar and the natural wax esters found on the leaf surface creates a cleaning and polishing action that removes water spots while depositing a thin protective wax layer. Surface scientists studying plant-based polishing compounds have noted this is chemically similar to how carnauba wax polish works on automotive surfaces. Number 13. Dried chrysanthemum petals for mattress and pillow freshening. In 1960s China, chrysanthemums were a culturally significant flower sometimes associated with funerary traditions, which made using them in bedding a socially taboo practice in certain provinces. Some community health advisors also discouraged placing dried plant material in sleeping areas over concerns about allergens. Collect dried chrysanthemum petals and place them inside small, breathable cotton pouches or directly inside pillowcases layered between the cover and the pillow. Replace them every 2 to 3 months. Chrysanthemum flowers contain pyrethrin precursors and natural camphor-like compounds that repel dust mites, the microscopic insects responsible for the most common indoor allergies. Entomologists have confirmed that chrysanthemum compounds have genuine acaricidal properties, meaning they kill or repel mites. This is why synthetic pyrethrins derived from chrysanthemum chemistry are now used in commercial dust mite treatments. Number 12. Wet clay for removing embedded grease from concrete floors. During the 1960s, Maoists' push for industrial cleanliness standards, using natural clay for degreasing in workshops or kitchens, was dismissed as peasant ignorance. Factory floor managers were specifically instructed to use synthetic solvents, but traditional workshops quietly kept using what worked. Source natural clay or even fine pottery clay from a craft store and mix it with water to a thick paste consistency. Apply a layer about 1 centimeter thick over a grease stain on concrete, brick, or unglazed tile. Allow it to dry completely overnight, then sweep or scrape away. As the clay dries, it draws the grease up and out of the porous concrete surface through capillary action. This is a genuine physical chemistry phenomenon where the drying clay matrix creates suction that pulls liquid hydrocarbons upward out of the substrate. Modern bioremediation and soil science literature confirms clay minerals are excellent at absorbing petroleum-based compounds. Number 11, rice vinegar and salt paste for tarnished copper and brass. In 1960s China, copper goods were heavily controlled as a strategic industrial metal. Households that owned copper cookware or decorative items were sometimes required to report and in some cases surrender them. Privately, cleaning and maintaining copper was done discreetly. Mix 2 tablespoons of fine salt into half a cup of rice vinegar to make a thin paste. Apply it to copper pots, brass hardware, or bronze decorative items with a soft cloth. Rub in small circles for 2 to 3 minutes, then rinse thoroughly with warm water and dry immediately. Acetic acid in the vinegar reacts with copper oxide on the tarnished surface through a chemical reduction reaction that dissolves the dull green or black oxide layer. The salt acts as an abrasive catalyst, speeding up the reaction and polishing the underlying bright metal. Inorganic chemists teaching corrosion science use this exact reaction as a classroom demonstration. Number 10. Fermented black bean liquid for removing ink and dye stains. In 1960s, China, fermented black beans were a staple condiment whose production was carefully managed during periods of food rationing. Using them for cleaning was considered a misuse of food resources and could attract criticism from neighborhood committees. When you make fermented black bean sauce or purchase a jar, the dark liquid inside has remarkable stain-lifting properties. Soak a cloth in the fermented black bean liquid and apply it directly to ink stains on fabric or wood surfaces. Allow it to sit for 8 to 10 minutes before blotting away without rubbing. The combination of enzymatic activity from natural fermentation organisms and the presence of organic acids creates a compound that chemically breaks the aromatic ring structures in ink pigments, making them water-soluble. Textile conservators working on historic fabric preservation have studied fermented legume liquids as gentle alternatives to synthetic spot removers. Number 9. Toasted sesame hulls for polishing wooden furniture. During 1960s China, sesame was an important oil crop, and the hull or husk left after pressing was considered agricultural waste for feed. Using it decoratively or for household cleaning was seen as frivolous and out of step with the era's utilitarian values. Toast dry sesame hulls in a dry pan over medium heat until they just begin to smell nutty, then allow to cool completely. Wrap a handful in a thin cotton cloth and use it as a polishing pad on wooden furniture, rubbing with the grain of the wood. The heat releases residual sesame oil within the hull tissue, and this oil, combined with the mild abrasive texture of the hull, cleans surface grime from wood while simultaneously depositing a conditioning oil layer. Wood finishing professionals recognize sesame oil as an exceptional penetrating wood finish with excellent drying properties comparable to linseed oil. Number 8. Beeswax and pine resin mix for sealing grout lines. In 1960s China, beeswax had both industrial and medical designations and was managed as a resource by collective farms. Using it for household sealing without authorization was technically a misappropriation of collective property. Melt equal parts of natural beeswax and pine resin together in a double boiler until liquid and fully combined. Allow to cool until it becomes a soft paste. Work this paste into clean, dry tile grout lines using a stiff brush or old toothbrush. Let it cure for 24 hours and then buff away excess from tile surfaces with a warm cloth. The beeswax fills the porous grout surface while the pine resin polymerizes slightly on contact with air, creating a water-repellent barrier that prevents mold from getting a foothold in the grout. Materials conservators who work on historic tile restoration in Europe have been independently using this exact formulation for decades. Number 7. Green onion stalks for cleaning wok carbon buildup. Neighborhood committees during China's 1960s hygiene campaigns specifically discouraged using plant matter as cleaning tools inside woks and cooking vessels, as inspectors considered it contradictory to hygienic cooking practices. Heat your empty wok until it is very hot but not smoking. Take a bundle of green onion stalks and using long-handled tongs, press the stalks flat against the hot interior of the wok and scrub in sweeping motions. The moisture and sulfur compounds in the green onion stalks create steam that lifts carbon deposits from the wok surface while the natural sulfur acts as a mild degreasing agent. The heat causes the onion cell walls to break down, releasing these compounds in concentrated bursts. Professional Chinese chefs still use this technique in traditional restaurant kitchens, and culinary chemistry researchers have documented the cleaning mechanism in food science journals. Number 6. Dried lotus leaves as refrigerator and pantry liners. In 1960s China, lotus plants were cultivated in collective fish ponds, and their leaves were considered agricultural byproducts. Using them for household purposes rather than allowing them to decompose as fish pond fertilizer was considered wasteful of collective resources and frowned upon by local agricultural committees. Collect and dry lotus leaves completely until they are stiff and papery. Cut them to fit your refrigerator shelves or pantry drawers and use them as liners beneath stored vegetables and fruit. Lotus leaves contain nuciferine and nelumboside, natural antimicrobial compounds that inhibit the growth of mold and bacteria on the leaf surface. This is the same scientific principle behind the lotus effect studied in nanotechnology today. Using lotus leaf liners extends the freshness of stored produce by reducing microbial surface contamination and absorbing excess moisture naturally. Number 5. Mugwort smoke for eliminating insects from bedding. During the 1960s in China, burning plant matter indoors was specifically prohibited in urban apartments by fire safety regulations introduced during the Mao era's urban modernization campaigns. Using mugwort, a traditional medicinal herb for pest control rather than its state-approved medical purposes, was also questioned by community health officials. Take dried mugwort stalks and bundle them together tightly. In a well-ventilated room, light the bundle and let it smolder, moving it slowly around the room, particularly near baseboards, under beds, and along curtain edges. The smoke contains toujon, cineole, and camphor-like terpenoids that are acutely toxic to insects, including bedbugs, fleas, and cockroaches, but are relatively safe for humans in well-ventilated conditions. Ethnobotanists studying traditional pest management across Asia have confirmed that mugwort smoke has documented insecticidal activity. Modern pharmacognosy research has isolated the specific compounds responsible. Number 4. Dried pomelo peel, infused water for kitchen surface disinfection. Pomelo was a luxury citrus fruit during the resource-scarce 1960s in China, and using any part of it for non-food purposes was criticized as elitist waste by local production committees. But households in Fujian and Guangdong provinces quietly dried and saved every scrap of peel. Dry pomelo peels completely in the sun over 5 to 7 days. Place a handful in a pot of water, bring to a boil, and simmer for 20 minutes. Allow to cool and use this liquid as a surface spray or wipe solution on kitchen counters, tables, and food preparation surfaces. Pomelo peel contains extremely high concentrations of limonene, flavonoids, and polyphenolic compounds with documented antimicrobial activity against gram-positive bacteria, including Staphylococcus and Listeria. Food microbiologists have published peer-reviewed studies confirming pomelo peel extract has antimicrobial efficacy sufficient for food surface applications. Number 3. Raw egg white for sealing and protecting painted walls. In 1960s China, eggs were rationed through collective distribution systems, and using food resources for non-nutritional household applications was a sanctionable offense. Families doing this were very careful not to advertise the practice to neighbors or committee officials. Beat fresh egg whites until slightly frothy but not stiff. Using a wide paintbrush, apply a thin, even coat over painted walls in bathrooms, kitchens, or any area prone to humidity and moisture damage. Allow to dry completely for 12 hours. Egg whites contain albumin proteins that form a thin, semi-permeable film when dry. This film is water-resistant, breathable, and inhibits mold spore adhesion to the wall surface. Art conservators have used egg white as a protective coating on historic paintings for centuries because the protein film bonds to paint pigments without altering their color. The same principle makes it an effective moisture barrier on household walls. Number 2. Bamboo ash lye solution for deep cleaning heavily soiled fabrics. In 1960s China, collecting and processing plant ash for personal cleaning use rather than returning it to agricultural land as fertilizer was criticized as counterproductive to collective farming goals. This was especially true for bamboo, which was managed as a collective resource in many southern Chinese regions. Collect the ash from burned bamboo in a clay pot or container. Slowly pour cold water through the ash, allowing it to drip through into a collection vessel below. This filtered liquid is bamboo lye water, a strongly alkaline solution of potassium hydroxide and potassium carbonate. Dilute this solution with 5 times the volume of water before using. Soak heavily soiled work clothes, rags, or fabric items in this diluted solution for 30 minutes, then wash normally. The alkaline lye saponifies oils and breaks down protein-based stains including blood, sweat, and food residue at a molecular level. Industrial laundry chemistry uses the same alkaline saponification principle in commercial heavy-duty detergents. And finally, number 1. Human urine aged in sealed clay pots for removing severe rust and mineral stains. This is the one that health officials in 1960s China most aggressively tried to stamp out, even publishing specific prohibitions against this practice in urban hygiene guides distributed during sanitation campaigns of 1965 and 1966. Metal workers and agricultural households had been using it for generations and refused to abandon it entirely. Collect urine and store it in a sealed clay or ceramic pot in a cool, dark location for a minimum of 2 weeks and preferably 4 weeks. During this time, bacterial activity converts urea into ammonia through a process called uriolysis. After aging, dilute the resulting liquid with equal parts water. Apply to severely rusted metal tools, concrete with deep mineral staining, or stone surfaces with heavy calcium buildup. Allow to sit for 30 minutes and scrub with a stiff brush. The aged ammonia and the complex mixture of organic acids produced during uriolysis attack both iron oxide and calcium carbonate deposits simultaneously. Western archaeologists excavating ancient tanneries and metalworking sites have confirmed that urine fermentation was one of the most sophisticated chemical processes available before the industrial era, and biochemists studying uriolysis confirm the cleaning mechanism is completely valid. Ammonia remains one of the most effective mineral stain removers in modern commercial cleaning products today. If you found even 3 of these useful, share this video with someone who would never believe cleaning science this old could still be relevant. Drop in the comments which number surprised you most. And if you want more forgotten knowledge that modern science is quietly bringing back, subscribe and hit the bell because we are just getting started.